Men over 60, are you ready for 7 light weightlifting exercises that grow muscle naturally? We're talking no pills, just pure power. Because let's be totally honest for a second. Why do we wake up one day and suddenly realize that just getting off the couch requires a grunt and a prayer? Man, I remember hitting my late 50s, reaching down to grab a totally normal, moderately heavy box out of the garage, and my lower back just absolutely screamed at me. I'm not gonna lie, I was terrified. Was this the start of losing my independence? We spend our entire lives building up our strength, only to feel it literally slipping through our fingers as we get older. But what if I told you there is a proven, scientifically backed way to put a hard stop to this? A legitimate way that requires 0 pills, absolutely no dangerous heavy lifting, and definitely no expensive gym memberships. In this explainer, I'm sharing my own personal journey, along with a highly guarded, at-home blueprint to stop this physical decline cold. But first, we really need to look the enemy in the eye.
So, why are our bodies betraying us? Why are we losing strength so incredibly fast after 50? Seriously, you stay active, you try your best to eat right, but the muscle just seems to vanish into thin air, right? It is incredibly frustrating. We are literally watching our vitality drain away. And look, the fear of becoming frail and dependent on others is a very real, very heavy weight for all of us. But hey, stick with me here, because while the biological reality we're about to dive into is kinda harsh, I am going to share a precise 7-movement blueprint a little later in this explainer that totally flips the script on aging. We just have to understand the hard data first. The undeniable proof is staring us right in the face. Our muscle fibers, they remain relatively stable right through our 30s and 40s. But the second we hit that 50th birthday mark, man, it is a literal cliff. We plummet from around 600,000 muscle fibers all the way down to roughly 320,000 by age 80. Think about that for a second. We are losing nearly 2% of our muscle fibers every single year after we hit 50. That is literally our physical independence fading away, mapped out right there on a clinical chart. The medical world actually has a name for this downward spiral. They call it sarcopenia. And you know what the worst part is? This vanishing act doesn't just make our arms look a little thinner in a t-shirt. It causes a massive 3-fold drop in our actual functional physical power. It replaces those lost tight muscle fibers with fat and scar tissue, which leaves our tendons and our joints incredibly vulnerable to injury. It is literally the gateway to fatigue, nasty falls, and eventually giving up the activities we actually love doing. But hey, don't click away, because just like I promised, we have a scientifically backed, pill-free way to fight back and completely reverse this trend.
Okay, let's dive into this. If our muscle is disappearing, why not just hit the local commercial gym like we did back in our 30s? Well, because the recovery math has completely changed on us. Back in the day, we could bounce back from a heavy, grueling workout in, 24 to 48 hours? But after 60, that exact same workout is going to put us on the couch for a solid week. Traditional, high-volume gym routines are designed for 25-year-olds. If we try to do that now, we just create massive, painful inflammation in our older bodies. We end up just spinning our wheels, getting totally wrecked, sore joints, and honestly, just quitting out of frustration.
And that brings us to the real biological villain of our story here, anabolic resistance. So what exactly is it? It's basically our aging body's incredibly stubborn refusal to efficiently use protein and growth signals to rebuild muscle. When we were young, I swear we could just look at a weight and our muscles would grow. Now, our testosterone is lower, our growth hormones are lower, and our bodies actively resist putting on new muscle. Man, I remember the pure frustration of putting in all that sweat equity at the gym and getting absolutely nothing but a sore lower back to show for it. But guys, listen to me. We are absolutely not throwing in the towel. The ultimate truth, coming straight from the CDC, is beautifully simple: use it or lose it. It's a cliche, sure, but it's a cliche because it is a biological fact. Our muscles are actually begging to be used. The secret here isn't giving up. The secret is fundamentally changing how we use them. We literally just have to outsmart our own biology. And the science is entirely on our side with this. Data from the National Strength and Conditioning Association proves that countering muscle disuse through the right kind of resistance training doesn't just build muscle, it safely and effectively combats physical frailty and restores what the scientists call physiological resilience. In plain English, that means we are bulletproofing our aging bones, making our joints significantly healthier, and shedding bad weight. And the absolute best part? We do not need heavy, dangerous weights to do this. So the wait is finally over. Here is the exact solution I promised you. These are the 7 power exercises. We've got the overhead press, bent over rows, front raise, chest press, bicep curls, the dumbbell squat, and the lying triceps extension. Listen, You absolutely do not need a gym membership for this. You can do this entire full body routine right in your living room. All you need is a pair of super light dumbbells. We are talking just 2 to 8 pound weights here, which you can pick up for dirt cheap anywhere. Let's break down exactly why these specific moves are so incredibly effective for guys our age. The real magic here comes down to natural mechanics. We are ditching the massive plates, and we are skipping those fixed commercial gym machines. Gym machines literally lock our bodies into fixed, highly unnatural movement patterns that just end up chewing up our older, stiffer joints over time. Dumbbells, on the other hand, let our bodies move naturally. They accommodate all the little quirks, old injuries, and tight spots we've developed over the decades. These natural movement patterns are our absolute blueprint for pain-free aesthetic fitness. First up is your new physical foundation, the dumbbell squat. This is what we call a compound movement, meaning it hits a whole bunch of muscles all at once. You literally just hold a light dumbbell right at your chest, spread your legs slightly wider than your hips, and safely bend. This directly trains the exact muscles we rely on to easily get up out of a low chair or push off the couch. And guys, please listen to me carefully here because I learned this the hard way. You do not need to drop it all the way down to the floor like some 20-year-old bodybuilder. Just go as low as you confidently can while keeping your back nice and straight. Next up on the list is the bent over row. You stand with just a slight bend in your knees, hinge forward at the waist about 45 degrees, and simply pull those light weights right up to your chest. Why is this specific move so absolutely vital? Because as we age, gravity relentlessly pulls us forward into that stooped, rounded shoulder posture. Pulling weights to the chest directly engages the upper back and your shoulder blades. It practically forces our bodies to stand taller. It restores our upright posture way faster and honestly way safer than trying to do complicated floor exercises. And that naturally leads us to building our upper body armor. When we do the overhead press, the chest press, and those classic bicep curls using free weights, something really magical happens. Because the dumbbells aren't attached to a rigid machine, our core and all those tiny, aging stabilizer muscles around our shoulders and elbows are suddenly forced to wake up and balance the load. Fixed gym machines completely ignore these stabilizers, which is exactly why so many older guys get injured when they try to lift a real-world object like a bag of mulch. We desperately need those stabilizers to stay functional. So here is the absolute most crucial point: how we actually lift these 2 to 8 pound weights. If the weights are that light, how in the world do we actually trigger muscle growth? Well, this right here is an absolute game changer: the 4-second rule. There is this incredibly fascinating study out of Japan focusing on seniors over 70. They had them use super light weights or even just their own body weight, but the catch was they had to move deliberately, agonizingly slowly. 4 seconds on the way up and 4 seconds on the way down. By removing all momentum and keeping the muscle under tension for that long, they triggered massive, totally safe muscle growth without putting any dangerous strain on their joints. It's brilliant. But listen, doing the exercises is really only half the battle. We have to talk about the real secret sauce: mastering recovery. Muscle is absolutely not built while you are in the living room sweating. The workout itself just sends the signal. The muscle is actually built in the days after while you are resting. Because we are over 60, we have to be incredibly smart about this. We need to rest a solid 48 to 72 hours between sessions that work the same muscle groups, just to give our older bodies the actual time they need to repair and grow stronger. And how do we optimize that rest? It all comes down to a magic number: 40 grams. I really want to hammer this point home. According to research published by the NIH, if older men ingest 40 grams of a slow-digesting protein, something like casein, right before they go to sleep, it dramatically spikes their overnight muscle protein synthesis. While you are deep asleep, your body is using that exact 40 grams to repair the very fibers you just stimulated with your light dumbbells. And during the day, we need what I like to call the protein anchor. Remember that nasty anabolic resistance we talked about earlier? The frustrating biological wall? Well, the only way to effectively punch through that resistance and force our bodies to listen is by hitting a specific nutritional threshold. You need to aim for 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein at your regular daily meals. If you hit that number consistently, you trigger the exact same growth signals that we effortlessly enjoyed back in our 30s. So, let's pull all of this amazing science together into your simple, everyday aesthetic blueprint. Here is your clear-cut action plan. You are going to train just 2 to 3 times per week. You are going to use those super light 2 to 8 pound dumbbells. You're going to perform 8 to 12 slow reps. Remember, 4 seconds up, 4 seconds down. And finally, you are going to prioritize that daytime protein anchor and your nighttime deep sleep. Consistency with these light weights and smart recovery are hands down our absolute best tools for safely rolling back the clock. Which leads us to the final and undoubtedly the most important question of this entire explainer. Are you ready? Are you ready to pick up those light weights, completely reclaim your strength, and take back your physical independence starting today? I did it, and the science proves without a shadow of a doubt that it is never too late for you either. You absolutely do not have to accept the decline. Start your own comeback story right now, right there in your living room. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, guys. Grab those dumbbells, remember to go slow, and I will see you next time.